Well, thank you for having me. It's great to know that I'm at the end of a long day, and hopefully people are getting ready to just like wind down and have a glass of wine or whatever have you. But it's good to meet everyone virtually. So, as mentioned, I'm here to talk about how to reimagine retail communications. I know it's a pretty hectic time, and so I'll just be weaving in some best practices that we recommend um, just today in the current climate, as well as how our solution could help in the future. But at an overview, I want to introduce myself. So I'm Melissa. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Retail Zipline. And we are a task management and store communication solution that really helps ensure operational effectiveness with teams and also store engagement. So before we really dive in, what I want to do is tell you a little bit about myself. Um, so before Zipline, I was actually in retail, and one of the things that I always struggled with was hearing feedback from stores like my job is too hard, right? Like there's too much information in too many different places. There's no way to prioritize the work that I need to get done. The content that you're sending is really not engaging. I can't, understand what I need to do in a really quick way. And all of these things are really impacting how I'm doing my work. And it wasn't just at the store level, it was also at the upper field level. So I would talk to district managers that didn't know where their computers were. They're always on the road, always on mobile, in the car or at home, right? And they're trying to manage these teams, and they just feel so disconnected between what their stores are being asked to do and and how they want to drive their business in their localized area, compared to with what headquarters was asking them to do. And I think one of the things that I really struggled with in my role, focusing on store communication and execution in headquarters, was just the tools, right? There wasn't a really good way to ensure that stores in upper field really knew what they needed to do. And I felt like it wasn't the lack of, it didn't matter how much time we spent on the communications or planning. There was really a deficiency in how we could send communications to teams that enabled better execution. And I think one of the interesting things that I'm seeing today in the current climate is that it's almost like holiday times 100, right? We have these things that we're sending to teams, business as usual, and that's still kind of crazy, right? Like there are updates, there are changes in promotions, there are merchandising switch outs, but in the current climate with COVID, the bar is a lot higher in terms of risk. Safety is at risk for customers and employees, and the number of updates that are happening throughout the business make it even more confusing. So it's just like a very interesting time, and very challenging. So even earlier on in a non-COVID climate, what we did see in retail was that at the time, only 29% of direction was actually being done by stores. So we measured the execution and we talked to store teams. It actually mirrors a lot of what a professor of consumer psychology and shopping had found in his white paper. Is 10% good enough? And when I really dug into why aren't stores executing what they're being asked to do, right? What I found is it wasn't really a lack of ill intent. Everyone really wanted to do the things that were the right for the business. And I think you likely see this in your store teams and with your upper field leaders. It's not like anyone is negligent or doesn't want to follow the direction. I was just hearing, we're just sending them too much information in too many different places with too many different vehicles, right? So there was like GroupMe, there was, chat, we were using like old archaic technology. And so throughout the 10 years in my position, I was hobbling together a lot of homegrown solutions to try to achieve better execution. I actually implemented a best-in-class task management solution at the time, but it was so hard to train users that it didn't get good adoption the year after we launched it. But nothing really seemed to be effective at having stores feel supported and understand what their priorities were day to day. And so after 10 years in the business, I actually left retail to create the solution that I always wanted to use. So I partnered with an amazing co-founder and CTO. So this is my CTO, Jeremy. And one of the reasons that I'm smiling is because in this picture, he's actually taller than I am. But we wanted to have different angles in the picture. So he kind of like, lowered himself a little bit. And so it's just, funny. It's a great picture. Pre-COVID times, had a nicer haircut and professional highlights. But, one of the things that really makes Zipline special is how Jeremy used his knowledge of consumer technology from his experience at Yahoo and brought it into an enterprise solution. So, fast forward 5 years later, we have over 37 retail brands that love us across 12 countries and 12 languages. We're considered best in class. And the reason why they love us is because we're really making their lives easier, right? We're making the store managers' lives easier. We're making the district managers' lives easier. For headquarters users to know what was sent, to know what the effectiveness of their programs are. And we're really in service to stores. So when you take a look at these best of breed brands and say like, okay, so, Mel, how are they using you? Like at a broad brushstroke, what are you doing for their organizations? So really one is that we're centralizing all of those pieces of information into one single source of truth. We are also cutting through the clutter and supporting work at every level. And I think retail, as you know, is kind of a special beast because everyone has a different role and responsibility in ensuring things get done. And the environment that you're working in is very different, whether you're at a store, whether you're the district manager, whether you're a zone VP, or whether you're in headquarters. And what makes your job easy at every level is totally different for every role. We're also enabling accountability, execution, and I like to say inspiration, because we cannot make stores do things that we want them to do. We really have to inspire them to take action, to really help them understand why their work matters. And those pieces will enable better execution, right? And visibility into the detail will ensure better accountability. And all three of those things together deliver better results, both in terms of the feels, like I feel great working for this employer, as well as the sales results. And then finally, a lot of what we find is a breakdown within a lot of organizations is alignment, right? So to ensure that everything is getting executed on time and up to what we expect good to look like, everyone needs to be on the same page about what the end result is and have an alignment into priorities, updates, actionable items, and know where teams are trending. So with our top retailers, what we've done is that we've taken, all of these things, all of these like bits and pieces of the best communication solutions that enable better store execution, and we pulled it into one easy to use system that incorporates task management, social, surveys, a document repository for evergreen information like policies to procedures, and with the foundation of easy publishing. I think one of the things that Jeremy always says is, no one wants a harder solution to put information into. So that is definitely the truth. So, through all of these modules that we have, they're all based off of these best practice communication and execution fundamentals that we know drive effective results in stores. And so what are those things? So one, we believe that putting communication at the heart and using a single source of truth drives better results. So a lot of solutions have a lot of different places for store teams to get to know, to get what they need to know to run their business. With Zipline, you have a single dashboard that is a way for store teams to see at an overview when I walk into my store, what do I need to know for overarching priorities so I can fly high and then dive deep, right? And even if you're not using Zipline today, through this, current business climate, I would suggest make sure that your store teams know where they need to go for that one place to have updated information to link to all of the execution details, all of the updated policies and procedures that they need to reference. So you're not directing them to that email, to that chat, to that group thread. Just consolidate all of the information into one central place. Another thing that we know drives effective execution is not forcing people to use a tool, right? Giving people a task management tool that makes it easier for them to work, and it enables better execution because they're going to that one place because it makes their job easier. So with Zipline, what people can see in a task page is on every day that they walk into a store, they can see what's due, what's overdue, what's happening in stores. They're in the know. They know what needs to get done that day, and they can add in their own tasks. And this concept of this daily kind of like to-do list that's personalized by users is one of the reasons that we've seen execution, for example, like Gap Inc. said that their execution went from around 25 to 30% for next day initiatives to over 90% after they implemented Zipline. So we like to say, make it easy for people to get their jobs done, and they'll naturally gravitate towards effective solutions. The thing that we believe is that communication can be consumerized. So this is really striking the balance between effective execution, like you saw on the day sheet, to engagement, right? And as we look at the weight of what we're asking stores to do now or in the next couple months, you really need to do it in a consumerized way that brings a lot of heart, a lot of empathy into work that they're being asked to do, and connecting the dots. This is what you need to know, and this is what you need to do. So we believe that by making communication consumerized, teams will operate with a better understanding. They'll be better business owners because they'll be able to see through pictures, through videos, what the level of good looks like, and they'll be able to relate to their organization in terms of the priorities, because it's not in a very dry or just text heavy way. I talked about this earlier about the need of alignment in an organization. And this is an example of us really meeting people where they're at. So what you're seeing here is a daily digest that we are sending district managers or anyone at headquarters. And what the daily digest does is essentially like a skim or New York Times daily digest that tells you what has been sent to your specific reports or stores. It tells you what people are behind on, who's tracking, and it gives you an easy access and portal to find out any information that has been sent to anyone on a specific topic. So we've seen effectiveness with this daily digest in terms of aligning the organization, because a lot of times we see different departments sending stores information, kind of like emailing them or putting it in a newsletter, in a weekly newsletter. And they're very disconnected from what other departments are sending. So this concept of a daily digest really ensures that everyone is on the same page about what stores are being asked to do. It helps retailers kind of decalcify these weekly communication packets that they're sending to their stores and break it up into smaller digestible chunks so that people get a steady stream of information and are able to move their business in more real time. So talking about real-time agility, like you don't know what you should do if you don't know the results of what you're asking them to do. So we're providing a line of sight into the work that teams are being asked to do so that you can see the effectiveness on your sales or on your customer service scores or on sentiment. We believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So just showcasing what's the overall execution, what's the readership, that's going to drive better behaviors in stores. And that's also going to allow you to make better real-time decisions. So when you take these cornerstone beliefs of what we believe in, it's really about supporting the store teams, right? And we believe that the store teams are really the ones that are bringing the brand experience to customers. And it's interesting because in this time, I feel this even more now than before, that it's really like life is really drab without stores, right? The stores are this hub of community, of connection. There's so much potential in terms of what we can enable stores to do and how we can get them to be a connection point in their community. It's really the magic of brands, and it's really what makes us feel alive and connected. So, the question is, how do you, as we come out of this climate, how do we enable and support our store teams to be the best that they can be whatever the circumstances. So, you know, from a retail Zipline perspective, we're really in service to stores. We want to make sure that we're enabling them to do their best work. We have put up a COVID-19 communications hub for retailers, and we're offering it at no cost during this time. It's really pulling all of the resources, messages together into one place so that everyone is up to date on what the news and the urgent priorities are for the organization. So some of you may have joined specific to, you know, to learn more a little bit about this. So please visit us if that's the case. But in a nutshell, we're creating a one-stop shop for stores to enable them to have better work. And what we've been hearing from the field has really been around ease of use and mobile friendliness, helping people cut through the clutter, and just, you know, bringing back ease to the retail conversation. So, you know, while we like to talk about some of these anecdotal feel-goods, there are also significant ROI. I think Gartner had mentioned that we're saving Old Navy $20 million a year in payroll annually. And that's a result of us piecing together the components of what makes store teams' lives easier, provides alignment and visibility in the organization so that people don't make the same mistakes twice. So if you would like to learn more about us, please visit us at retailzipline.com. We also have best practices in communication that is available to download there, so please give us a visit.